Hello again. Now we're going to look at Island Man. This is a very short poem, and again we're just going to go through the smile points, the structure, the meaning, the image, the language, and the effect on me, because that covers all of the areas that will satisfy B grade and above. Okay, so first of all we look at structure, and as you notice the first thing we have is an absence of punctuation. As you can see from across here, no punctuation. And that is because it's partly a performance poem and also because partly the dialect. It allows you to actually just concentrate on the flow a little more. And obviously in Caribbean writing, in some aspects they choose not to use punctuation. So obviously they use the breaks of the sentence in a way of punctuating it itself. Sentence variation and indentation, all the way through you actually see that it's actually quite offset and it's a little bit different. The sentence variation here shows a kind of like a free spirit. It's just a kind of person going through a day. It could be any day, and it's like a certain capturing of the moment at that certain time. It's not really supposed to be something that's well thought about, etc. It's a feeling captured in a morning. The indentation, as you probably see in your anthologies as well, of this line here, groggily, groggily, and this line here, muffling, muffling. That's not on this website, which I'm actually using, which was set up by another school, but in the anthologies you'll see them offset again, and that's a very awkward thing. So again, it shows us that there's kind of breaks and not really anything smooth in this poem, and it gives us like discomfort in those moments there. Now the paragraph variation, just the free verse as we go through again, it just reflects really that lack of clarity when waking. And the way we see this first of all is morning, because there's always that one instant where you've actually woken up, and then it's kind of like a warbled coming out of a dream until we get to the idea of groggily, groggily, and then unfortunately he's more focused here. It's more similar. These lines are more similar because he actually knows where he's woken up to, and it's something he's not actually happy about waking up to. So the meanings, some of the things that we have here, one of the first themes that we get across is loneliness. He wakes up on his own, and he's probably been drinking himself maybe into some kind of semi-depressed stupor, and he's actually alone. It's only his pillow that has to wave him goodbye, whereas when he was waking up at home he had the even just the animals almost in his head at least greeting him, and he had people around him, etc, etc, etc. But here it's just his pillow waving him off. It talks about the impact of childhood, or the impact of earlier. It's the memories and how they actually have an effect of us. So actually obviously the memories here have actually infiltrated his dreams, and obviously they probably are daydreams as well. So it actually just shows how deep this is actually in him, if it's really challenging him in his subconscious. We also have the idea of the love of the homeland, the glorious colours and the scenes, actually when it talks about the wild seabirds and just things were freer, and he has the sun surfacing, etc, etc, just glorious scenes and colours which really give us a vivid image and make us think about different destinations or where our quote unquote safe places. The images that come through a lot of the poems is the grey life of London. We've got the concrete roads and etc, noted by the grey, and the idea of the surging wheels. That's the kind of the noise he hears aren't actually natural. They're man-made sounds that he's hearing. The image again we had earlier in the poem of the Caribbean island with the sun surfing defiantly, and it's a small emerald island. It just gives us the idea of how green it is there. The image of him waking up as well, just in that morning, and the muffling, all these groggly, all of those kind of things just show him slowly, unsure, staggering, and quite miserable in actually what he's doing there. So we've got this image of the man himself actually waking, and obviously the subtitle to this is For a Caribbean Man, so we know it is a man who's actually waking in this situation. The language, was quite a few things you can pick out, but some of the things you might want to talk about are the sibilants, the sound of blue surf, the emphasizing the sound of the sea, this going through there, it's like the washing of waves. The metaphor of Emerald Isle, kind of comparing it to something, showing its value and how worthy it is to him. And then you've got the repetition, groggily, and muffling. So this is kind of an extension, groggily. They're like slow paced. It actually really helps change the pace of the poem, and the whole tone at the beginning is something quite upbeat and happy, like you kind of in a dream, and then you come into reality and it didn't seem as good, and that's why it's a lot the tone changes a lot towards the second half of the poem. So the effects that you can actually talk about, it might actually give you the idea about the immigration on people who've actually gone through immigration, what they actually have to think about. Well, certain people have stereotypes about people who immigrate or immigrate to certain countries, and they actually see that a lot of people might actually be there for just work reasons or maybe other reasons, when they actually had glorious homelands to actually come from. The idea of alienation, again, he's just on his own and he just doesn't feel right. Waking up to sounds like this to you or I who are from London probably wouldn't make that much difference, but to someone who's not from London, this is just completely unnerving. And the duality of life, the idea that you can be two completely different people in two completely different places. I mean, maybe up here he used to hang around with these fishermen that are actually mentioned, and across here he's just a person who's on his own, but he knows that that's actually still going on back home. And maybe that's a really interesting angle which you can actually develop and build on. Talking about all five will definitely get you marks, and it's always good to just compare and then actually just mention. So remember, the meaning is the most important, and then just talk about how the images, the structure, and language have actually supported the meaning.